All right, look, y'all, let's jump right into this. Obviously, right now we're in a we're in a new place right now. We're in a new season. We're in a place that our world, our nation, local cities, families, in a place that we've never experienced, in a place that we've never seen before. And anytime that you are in a new place, you got to go back to the old plans. Anytime that you're in a new place, you got to revisit the stuff that you put in place and reevaluate. God, is this what you're still saying in this season? Or are you speaking something different? Are you calling an audible? Or do I need to maintain what I've been doing? You need to go back to God and find out, is there something that needs to be changed in this new place? And even this past Sunday, I believe that God showed us some things, even in the Word of God, where he really challenged us in the Word, in Joshua chapter 1 that we was reading about, where the Lord spoke to Joshua and he said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And we took out Moses and we took out you, and we just baked it down to this: as I was, so I will be. And what I want to encourage you with tonight, and I'll even show it to you in the scripture, but I want to encourage you tonight that even though we're in a new season, even though we're in a new place, this is still the same God. Just the same way that the Lord spoke to Joshua and he said, I know that Moses is gone, but just as I was, so I will be. Just as you knew me to be faithful, just as you knew me to be a healer, just as you knew me to be a good God, just as you knew me to be a deliverer and a God of restoration, just as I was, so I will be. I'll continue to be all of those things that you knew me as. But here's the kicker. Just because he's the same God doesn't mean that he's going to do it the same way. Y'all hear me on this. I have to encourage you tonight. Just because he is the same God does not mean that he's going to do it the same way. I know we sing the song and we say the cliche, if he did it before, he could do it again. If he did it for you, then he could do it for me. And I believe that wholeheartedly, but not to the extent that God is going to do it the same exact way. I believe that he is the same God that was before, the same God that is, and the same God that is to come. But he has different ways of doing things. And I got to show you this in the Word of God, but I kind of got to give you a preface. So in Joshua chapter 1, the Lord comes to Joshua and he says, hey, my servant Moses has died. Now I explained this in the last message. Again, go back to this message from Sunday to get the fullness of this, but I just got to kind of go quickly. And so he says, my servant Moses has died. He's not just a leader, but this is their provider. This is the person that takes care of their needs. This is the person that comes through in the clutch. This is their encourager. This is their prayer warrior. This is their intercessor. This is their right-hand man. This is his best friend. This is the person that he goes to. This is his mentor. This is the person that brings them water. This is the person that brings them food. This is the person that goes before God on their behalf because the veil had not been ripped yet. He's talking to God face to face on their behalf. He's everything to them. Matter of fact, he is essentially God in their eyes. And then he dies. And along with all of their hope, everything else goes into the grave. And the Lord shows up to Joshua. And in this instant where everything is changed, everything is brand spanking new, the Lord shows up to Joshua and he says, as I was, so I will be. I'll be the same God. But then the Lord puts it on Joshua's heart to continue the journey that Moses has already begun. So something in this is the same. All right, there's going to be the same outcome, but there's going to be a different path taken to the same outcome, if that makes sense. You're praying to God and you're believing something, that you're going to get something from God. You're believing that God is going to do something special in your life. And you're thinking, man, you know what? I saw God do it in this person's life, so I believe that God can do it the same way. And God might want the same outcome, but he might be looking for a totally different path. This will make sense. So the Lord speaks to Joshua and he says, I want you to continue on the path to go to the promised land. All of this is in Joshua chapter 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to give you a couple in chapter 3. He says, I want you to continue on what I was doing. I'm the same God, so I want the same outcome. But I want to do it in you a different way than what I did it in Moses. So this is what he says. He says, I need you to cross over the Jordan. So initially you would think he's the same God then, same God now, and he will continue to be the same God. If he did it for you, he could do it for me. If he did it before, he could do it again. But as Joshua gets to the Jordan, as you would expect for him to take Moses' rod and hold it up in the air, because this is what he has seen Moses do. This is all that he knows. Once we hit a body of water, I've seen Moses do it before, so all I have to do is hold up my rod and the sea will split. But God chooses to do it a different way. We're in a new season, but he's still the same God. But though he's the same God, doesn't mean that he'll do it the same way every single time. And so I believe that Joshua has a different perspective and a different relationship with God than Moses had. Even though they're serving the same God, he chooses to do things in different ways for different people, depending on what he's trying to get through to them, and depending on their relationship with him. Just like, you raise children kind of in the same way, but you treat them, let me say it differently. You treat them the same, but you still raise them differently. You can't treat every child the same. This is the difference. If you go back a few chapters and even a couple books, where it's talking about the people started to build up the golden images because Moses had been away too long. He went outside the camp so that he could seek God in the tabernacle. And it says that Moses went back and forth to the tabernacle. But then if you keep reading, it says that Joshua stayed. It said Joshua never left the tabernacle. These are two different relationships. God wants the same outcome, but he's doing it a different way. So with Moses, when the Lord came to Moses, Moses made excuses about why he couldn't go. And so all in all, God ended up having to say to Moses, what's in your hand? Okay, I'll use your gifts. But with Joshua, Joshua had such a relationship with the Lord that he didn't necessarily need his gifts. All he wanted was his presence. I hope y'all like that wordplay. I don't need your gifts in this new season, because in this new season, you don't even know where your gifts fit in. You don't even know where your abilities and your talents, you wouldn't even know what to do with them, because a lot of things don't seem to be working like they used to. A lot of buildings and stores and places and arenas are not open. The way that you used to function, you have a totally different schedule. The way that you, where you used to take your kids, you can't take them there anymore. What they're doing in the schools is unlike anything we've seen before. The tutors, the teachers, the students, the parents, virtual learning, the vaccinations, the virus, social distancing, civil rights and injustice, everything is brand spanking new. Everything is brand spanking new. We don't know how any of this stuff works in this new season. And so everybody's just trying to figure it out. And the biggest difference between Joshua and Moses was that Moses needed to use his gifts in order to pursue the promised land. But Joshua needed his presence. If you go back in Joshua chapter 1, he confirmed with Joshua, or he affirmed to Joshua that the problem may persist. You might have some challenges. There's going to be some battles ahead of you on the way to the promised land. And so the promise that I'm making to you is not that you won't have any problems on the way. The promise that I'm making to you is not that you won't have any barriers ahead of you. The promise that I'm making to you is not that everything is going to be smooth along the way. The promise that I'm making to you is that I will never leave you. The promise that I'm making to you is that I will never forsake you. The promise that I'm making to you is as I was, so I will be. Just as I was with Moses, I will be with you. But just because I was with Moses doesn't mean that I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Moses. You see, because Moses didn't all the way trust me, and so I had to put something in his hand in order for him to go, in order for him to feel comfortable. He needed a security blanket in order for him to fulfill the promises of God. But Joshua was the one that stayed at the tabernacle. All he wanted was the presence of God. Matter of fact, he could care less what the people was doing. He wanted to be where the presence of God was. And so with Joshua, he doesn't need his gifts. He doesn't need something in his hand. And you'll see here in Joshua chapter 3, here's the big difference. They get to this body of water where they get ready to cross the Jordan. And again, you'd expect him to be looking for Moses' rod to say, let me just lift this rod. This is what I've seen him do so many times. And so let me just mock what I've seen. But Joshua has been in the presence of the Lord, and he understands that all he needs is the presence of God in order for him to be able to get through any problem or any challenge or any obstacle that's in front of him. And so they get to the water. And as you'll see in Joshua chapter 3, in verse 13, it says, "And it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests who bear the ark of the Lord of all the earth shall rest on the waters of the Jordan, that the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off." Y'all see this? This is amazing to me, because God doesn't do it the same way. He's the same God, but he didn't do it the same way. Don't y'all think it's interesting that there's so many miracles that happen in the Bible? So many people that got healed of leprosy, so many blind eyes that were open, so many mute whose mouths were open, so many people who were lame that could walk, so many people who were crippled, who were healed, But none of these cases, he did exactly the same. For one, he spit in the mud and put it on their eyes. For another one, he said, "I need you to go dip in the water." For another, he just put his hands on his eyes and said, "Just be healed." For another, he said, "Hey, just go home and believe me. And when you get there, it's already going to be done." For another, he said, "Matter of fact, because of your faith, I'm going to heal your son." For another, he said, roll away the stone and tell him to come out. For another, he just sent a word and nobody even touched him and they were healed. Same God, doing it a different way. We find ourselves right in a very new season where everything is strange, everything is different, and we find ourselves grasping and reaching almost blindly for some type of hope or something to grab hold of. Some type of foundation that is firm that we can stand on, because politics right now is not firm. Number 45 right now is not firm. Our local government is not firm. Our local authorities are not firm. And we're looking for something firm and consistent that we can stand on. And I would encourage you tonight that even though we are in a new season, we are serving the same God. And the same thing that he said to Joshua, I'm saying to you, that as he was, so he will continue to be. Just as he was faithful, he will continue to be faithful. Even in this new season, God is still healing. And I know y'all hearing a whole lot of bad reports. I know you're hearing a lot of negativity. I know you're seeing a lot of police brutality. I know you're experiencing a lot of race wars. But in it, you have to know that God is still. This is what it says in Joshua, and I'm almost done here. I'm going to finish up early tonight. In Joshua chapter 3. Verse 3, it says, "And they commanded the people, saying, when they see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the priests of the Levites bearing it, then you shall set out to the place and go after it." He said, then. He said, when you see, then you shall go. But here's the hard part where we get tripped up and where we get discouraged a lot of times. Because oftentimes, God is telling us he wants us to see something in the spirit and we don't see it. We don't feel it. We get caught in our emotions and our feelings and the soulless realm. And God is telling us, but I need you to see. And when you see it, then I need you to follow after. But we're like, God, I don't see it. God, I don't feel it. God, where are you in this? Everything looks kind of crazy. Everything looks kind of strange. Everything looks kind of, everything's brand new. It goes on to say, yet there shall be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Don't come near it, that you may know the way which you must go. For you, this is the kicker. It says in verse 4 at the end, for you have not passed by this way before. God is asking you to see something from a distance. He asked him, hey, I need you to see the Ark of the Covenant, but I need you to keep a distance. Because if you get too close, if you can put your hands on it, if you can see it with your natural eye, but you can't see it with your spiritual eye, right, then you might begin to think that maybe you know what you're doing in this season. You might start resorting back to your old ways of doing things and think that the old thing that used to work can work in this new season. You might go back to your old way of thinking and thinking, well, God did it this way last time, so maybe he's going to do it this way this time. right? He says, hey, I need you to see the Ark of the Covenant. Don't just see it. But once you see what I'm doing in the spirit, don't act like you've been here before, because I need you to follow every instruction to the T. I need you to almost put your feet in the footsteps of the priest and not try to create your own footsteps. Anywhere where the ark turns, I need you to turn there. Because if you follow too closely, you're going to think that you know what you're doing, and you're going to try to get ahead of the Lord in this season. You're going to act like you got it all figured out. You're going to act like you know what you're doing. You're going to say, oh, I've been here before. I've seen God do this, so let me try to. No, but what God is saying is, no, I need you to create space. I need you to see in the spirit what I'm doing. But then I need you to back up a few steps, enough steps so that you can see ahead of me and see ahead of yourself and see where I'm going, to see what I'm doing. In this season, you may not feel me like you used to. In previous seasons, you might have felt so spiritual and so deep and so in tune with God that you could almost follow him blindly, holding on to his coattail, not even having to hear his voice, not having to see him physically, but almost holding on to him and being able to follow him just by being able to feel him. What I'm saying in this season is this season may not be as sensual as the last. This season, you may not be able to feel him, but I need you to be able to faith him. In this season, you might not be able to reach out and physically touch him, but I need you to be able to physically be able to get into his presence and to feel him spiritually envelop you. I need you to be able to feel his Holy Spirit to wrap his arms around you. You need to be able to see it in the spirit and to be able to take these instructions step by step. I know sometimes it seems a little frustrating because we're just like, God, why can't you just give me the big picture? Why can't you just show me everything? Why can't you just map this thing out? God, why can't you just give me what's coming next month? Why can't you just show me who the next president is going to be so I can prepare for it? Why can't you just reveal when the virus is going to be gone, or if I should get the vaccination or not? Why can't you just show me if I should put my kids in school or if I should take them out? Why can't you just give me everything ahead of time so that I can just plan everything out? And he says that if you did, then you would be walking in stride with the Ark of the Covenant. And in that time, if you were to touch the Ark of the Covenant, you would drop dead on the spot. What are you saying, Pastor Ty? This is what I'm saying. This is very symbolic. What I believe the Lord is speaking to us in this season is that you may not feel me. You may not be able to touch me tangibly. You may be praying and crying out every time you see cold blood in the streets and saying, God, I need you to come through. And I don't feel like your presence is as heavy as it needs to be in these streets right now. You might be saying, hey, my family members are passing away from this infection and this virus, and I know that you can heal, but I don't see your hand at work in this situation. You might be saying, God, I am driving myself crazy. I am losing it with my kids being at home in this virtual learning, and the teachers can't handle it. They're stressed out. My kids are stressed out. My spouse is stressed out. I'm stressed out, and we're all losing it. And I'm wondering where you are in all of this. This is a season where you may not be able to feel him. But what I believe that he is speaking to us is that I need you to see the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant represents his presence, not his gifts. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Moses needed his gift because he was making excuses about why he couldn't go. He needed a rod as a security blanket to hold up and say, hey, as long as I have this, I can split the sea. But Joshua said, no, I don't need gifts. I need presence. I need you with me. And as long as you have me, as long as I have you with me, then I can get through this. As long as I have you with me, then I won't become discouraged. As long as I have you with me, then I know that there's going to be another challenge tomorrow, but I know that I'll be able to face it. I know that I'm going to be at times be fearful and scared out of my wits about what I'll have to encounter, but instead I'll be able to face that fear knowing that you're with me. That greater is he that is on the inside of me than he that is in the world. Why? Because he has already overcome the world. And so it makes it easy for somebody who has already gotten victory to speak to somebody walking with them and say, hey, just stick with me and we'll get through this. I can understand if you was with somebody who's never had a victory. I can understand that if you were walking around with somebody defeated and they said, hey, just stick with me, we're going to get through this. I can understand if somebody was trying to encourage you who's always discouraged. But somebody encouraging you tonight is somebody who stays full because I stay in his presence. I'm encouraging you tonight because God has already overcome the world. God lives on the inside of us. And so when he speaks to us and he says, I am with you, this is coming from somebody who already has victory over whatever the next challenge will be. This is all I'm saying tonight. This is all I'm saying tonight is that he did not promise to remove the problems, but he promised his presence. He promised that he will remain with us in it. He promised us that he would never leave us, that he would never forsake us. And in this season where everything looks brand new, what he's saying to us, just like he said in verse 4, he says, don't get ahead of me. Leave some space so that you can see in the spirit and trust that I know what I'm doing. Because like it says right here, you have not passed by this way before. You guys stay encouraged. If you guys get a chance, if you follow me on my personal media outlets, go and check out the post from today. And I believe it speaks to even what I'm talking about tonight. About a story with dropping off Tyler for his first day of school today. Everything is new. And so I'll leave you with this bit. In this new place, be sure to give your kids grace. Be sure to give your spouse grace. Be sure to give the teachers grace. Be sure, and I know this is a tough one, guys, but be sure to give our political leaders grace. Be sure to give officers grace. This is the most important. Be sure to give yourself grace in this season. We have never been here before. A lot of this stuff we're experiencing, not just in this country, but it's happening globally. We have never seen this before. And I want to encourage you also that maybe you're the person that's very challenged in this season. I want to encourage you that you are not by yourself. You're not the only one. Don't think that you're just on an island by yourself and woe is me and God, why are you doing all of this bad to me? Why is my family suffering? Why am I going through this? Why am I experiencing this hardship? You're not the only one. There are a lot of people very challenged in this season. But it is my job, and I take this job very seriously, to encourage you in this season to speak on behalf of a God that has already overcome the world, to say, come with me. I am with you. I've already given you victory. I'm giving you the verdict even before you can physically see the victory with your natural eyes. I've already given you an outcome to the problem even while you're experiencing the opposition. God is with us. Emmanuel is what they call him in the Bible. That he is with us. He will never leave. He'll never forsake us. So I encourage you tonight, strap up those boots. Put on your boxing gloves and give it everything you have, knowing that the God who already has overcome the world has you in a fixed fight. But you still have to fight. Keep pushing. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Be sure that you have a word of encouragement in and out of season, even if you feel like the person that's, hey, I'm empty. I don't have anything else to give. Those moments, that's where you run into God. That's where you run into his grace. That's where you run into his mercy. And you find yourself start to encourage people with the energy and the strength that you did not even know you had, in a reservoir that you have never even poured from because you didn't even know you had it. I encourage you guys tonight, keep pushing, stay encouraged. And if need be, if you need us, y'all know how to reach us on our social media platforms, or check us out on our website, flowinglife.org, on IG, on Facebook. Reach out to us if you need prayer. If I or First Lady Taryn got to reach out to you personally ourselves, we'll do so. But I encourage you guys to do that. I do see you there. If you do wish to sow, our Cash App is Flow Center. You can sow as well on flowinglife.org. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's a button there to give. We definitely appreciate any of those gifts that that have been this year going into very needful and very essential workers, neighborhoods, schools, students, teachers, families, kids, that we've been able to pour into, not just spiritually, but even naturally with resources and with finances. And so God bless you if you guys choose to do that as well. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Stay encouraged, be encouraged. And if you need more of this encouragement, you know where to find it, flowinglife.org, or check us out on our social media platforms. And I hope to see you guys right here, Facebook Live, this Sunday at 10 a.m. You will get nothing more than the same, if not much more encouragement. If that's what you're looking for, come get it. We love you guys. Have a great evening. And if you've gotten anything from this message, please share it. Please share it with somebody who needs it, even if it's not on your public platform. Send it to somebody's inbox, DM, or just recommend that somebody listen to this. We all about hope, and that's what we're pushing. Nothing more, nothing less. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Love you guys. Have a great evening, and see you Sunday at 10 a.m.